Te poke I manaia ka tare hua e mihi ki te whenua. E tangi ki ngā tangata korohihi pō korohihi ao. Korongo te pō, korongo te ao. Korongo te ure puta ki te matahau o tū. Tū te wini tū te wana, tū te hakaputaina ki te whai ao ki te ao marama. Te hewa mauri ora ki te whai ao ki te ao marama. Turuturu atai, turuturu auta. Turuturu whakamaua mai ki a tina. Tina, aumi e, hui e, tai ki e. E ngā mana e ngā reo, e ngā kārangatanga maha o te motu. Te Taitokerau ngā puhi nui tonu puta noa I te motu. Te nuku roa o Aotearoa, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Ka mihi atu ki te wahi ngaro, e ngā mate kua mate, ngā mate huhua, ki tō mātou ake tuahine karanga maha ki a Gail Richards, tana pāpā tēnei wiki kua oki oki. O reire ngā mate katoa. Heire, heire, heire. Heire ki Hawaii ki nui, Hawaii ki roa, Hawaii ki pāmamau, te hono ki wairua ki te whaiau, ki te ao marama. Hawaii ki whakamutu koutou heire, heire, heire whakaoti atura. A kāti mo tēnā. Tēnei rā ka huri ki tēnei wāhi ki a hihi aua, I roto whangarei te renga parawa. Tēnei ka mihi atu ki tēnei kaupapa o Toi Nga puhi. Tēnei kaupapa he taumata kōrero. He taumata kōrero he tīmatanga I roto I tēnei kaupapa mo Toi Nga puhi, mo Te Taitokerau ngā puhi nui tonu. Te rangi nei, ka huri ki tō mātou tuākana, te tohunga whakairo, o roto whangarei te renga parawa, o roto hoki Ngāti Wai, puta noa I ngā puhi nui tonu, te Taitokerau, no reira ka mihi atu ki tēnei tō tātou nei tohunga whakairo te rangi nei ki a Te Warihi. Tana hoa wahine, tana hoa rangatira I roto o tēnei whare tino ātāhua, a hihi aua, ki te taha o te awa nei I roto o whangarei te renga parawa. Tēnei ka mihi atu ki tēnei he tīmatanga, mo tēnei kaupapa, te taumata kōrero mo ngā toi o ngā puhi nui tonu o roto te Taitokerau. Nō reira tēnā koutou e ngā kai hakarongo, kia koutou e kai e ngā kai mātakitaki, whakatau mai, whakatau mai rā. Tēnei rā ka tīmata I roto I tēnei whakaro. He aha ngā tino pūtake o te toi o ngā mātua whenga. He aha ngā pūtake mo tātou I naia tonu nei. He aha ngā pūtake mo ngā uri whakatupu, ngā whakapaparanga kei te haere mai. Te tīmatanga me ruku tātou I roto I te ao kohatu, I roto I ngā whakaro o ngā whenga o ngā mātua tūpuna. I o rātou nei wā e whakairo nei I ngā rākau, e whakairo nei I ngā rāranga o te kōrari me te pīngao, e whakairo nei I ngā ahuatanga o te whai kōrero, e whakairo nei te whakaro, puta nei I te hinengaro o tēnā o ngā hāpori. Nō reira ka tīmata tēnei rā I roto hihi aua nei, I roto te kaupapa o Toi Nga puhi, me tēnei o tātou nei tino tuākana tohunga mo tēnei mahi o te whakairo. Nō reira te warahi tēnā koe. Tēnā hoki koe me ngā ahuatanga o roto tēnei whare ātāhua ra wātu, me o mahi, o pukenga, me ngā mahi mātanga ki runga ki a koe mo te whao, mo te toki, mo te kanimihi ne anō hoki. Nō reira, tēnei ka huri atu ki a koe, I roto I tēnei taku mihi ki a koe, me tīmata koe, tō ingoa, tō pānga ki ngā hapu me ngā iwi, me tīmata tātou I roto I tērā tō whakapapa ki te whenua, me ngā karangatanga maha puta noa o te Taitokerau huri noa ki roto o te nukuroa Aotearoa. Nō reira e te warihi, kei a koe te wā, tēnā koe, tēnā no hoki koe.
Tēnā koe e Bernard, te rangatira, tēnā mihi mahana ke hau o te wharu tātou nei whare, tū mai ne, kani hoki te mihi ke a koe. E wha tōku ingoa ko te wārehi he taraka, tēnā ingoa i tukuna mai i te wā tātou nei whānui no hana kei kapotai, kei waikare. Ko te ingoa tēnā tūpuna, ko te wārehi kōko wai he tino tohunga tēnā mo te hahu kōiwi wera me kato, mo te whakairo anu. Aho kā i tupu ake au kei whangaruru, wanga nui tō tātou ni whānau iaira, ko te uri o hiki hiki, wena te tahi o ngā hapu o Atiwai. Te kāna te kōrero, engari o ngā puhi whānau. Kei reira i tīmata hoki tēnei tohu ki rungi ia nei i pāna ki te whakairo. Koa i tīmata raro hoki te āhuatango te tutu. Taku whau tuatai ko te pocket knife, ne? Tēnā ki te mea. I te maa wā nohi nohi i tīmata hoki tēnā mahi. Engari, taino atu ki te wā i oti taku nei tāna kei te kura, kei Punaruku, native school tēnā. Tau mai te tono ke haere ki Rotorua. 1967, koe nā, te wā. I haere atu, te wātuatangi haere atu au ki Rotorua. E raro hoki te tahunga hone taiakoa. He tahi wāka, haere mai e pina te amatuakana i Rotorua ki te o pine hoki te tahunga nei ka hoki te kōrero. Nā ko hone, nāna ia te rangatira mo te whao.
Apai, with your starting in Ngāti Wai and Taitokerau, were there other people that were interested in carving at that time when you were young and thinking about what this mahi is about?
No. Although, like I said before, I started off with a pocket knife. And no wood was safe in my range. So I was around about 80 years old when and started carving figures out. And the topic of the carvings were wide and broad. So I guess you could refer to me as a tanga back in the day with a pocket knife.
Bit more permanent than a spray can.
Yeah. But I remember I was been about 9 years old, and because we had those old wooden buses, and because the roads back home dusty as heck, eh? And one of the older kids had drawn a picture of the tiki, and I never ever forget the feeling that reached right into me at that time, and it was from that time onwards I think that I really started gravitating towards those things. And then I think once the old people saw that, the elders from our community saw that, they started feeding me with certain kinds of knowledge, especially around whakapapa and all of that sort of stuff at that young age. But it wasn't until, and I think it was during my high school period there, we had a school teacher. His name was Mr. geez, I've only forgotten his name. But he's a school teacher, and he'd come over from Watertown.
Oh.
And
He Māori, he Pākehā.
He Pākehā, yeah. And he had come under the influence of Whakairo with Hori Waititi. Because while Hori was completing the whare at Otiria. Of course, that was opened in 1963. And so after that, he came over and started and introduced, he was the woodwork teacher, Mr. Harrison, Ken Harrison was his name. And he introduced whakairo into our kura at Punuruku. And I think that's when I've got the first taste of that desire to want to carry on with that. And so so I think it was that influence that Eremia Kapu started, because he was Eremia Kapu that started that meeting us. And of course passed away during the process of it, and Hori Waititi was the one who was chosen to complete it. And so that influence carried over to Punuruku to a roundabout kind of a way. So by the time it was 1965 when the school in Rotorua was put into place, but the carving aspect of it started in 1967.
And how were you referred there?
I had already passed all the tests to go to Wellington for, back in the trade training days. So I had already passed all the tests to do a carpentry course in Wellington. And then Kahui, not Kahui, he was this whanau of ours from out of Whakapara. He was working for Māori Affairs as one of those, what do you call those officers? Those, and their job was to go out and visit welfare office. And they went out and visited the communities. And it was him that was sent out by the elders of Te Taitokerau to come and talk to Dad, to allow me to go to the school. And of course the old man said no. He said, "No way you're going there." And then we were.
Why do you think he said that?
I found out from my other uncle that I was raised with, Tōtene Remo, Wetere. And he said it was probably because of what happened during the Hongi's Ekinga ki Reirang. And so the old man was a little bit of afraid to send me into that sort of environment. Yeah.
And when you got there, was any of his anxiety, did you experience any of that in Rotorua? What was your experience like down there?
We moved into, it was fantastic, actually. It was nowhere like although I felt a little bit of attention, I think it was because all of the students were introduced to the Aroa people by Kuru Waka, who was the director of Maki at that time, Māori Arts and Crafts Institute. Was known then as the Whakareorewa Arts and Crafts Institute when we first started. So he introduces, and Kuru took us to, and I think it was that visit to the Blue and Green Lakes that cleared the way for me being there. Because he described the event that happened at the Green Lakes when Hongi Hika came there. And it was there that that incident happened out in Mutu Tapu, where our ope from the north was visiting on a peaceful mission. And it turned out that most of them were wiped out. And one person came back north. And that's, So once the Kuru Waka shared their story, I realized then what was, what the problem that our people had with me coming to Rotorua. But from then on, my stay in Rotorua, I became one of them. Kuru said to us, all of us, that you now belong to our family.
Wow.
And while you were here, we will look after you.
And John Taiapa's skill with the chisel is still legendary. Now, of course, there's the connection with Motatai.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the connection with Hone Taiapa and Motatai.
Of course, you know the history of when Apareama's team of carvers came north to, and really was to try and encourage our people to maintain tana kōrero kia whai koe hoki te mātauranga te pāre, ngari kia te maurita. So when he came north with that story, and then with this team of artisans, I call them artisans now. I changed my mind once I got into to Whakairo proper. The house, the runanga at the top of Waitangi, on treaty grounds at Waitangi, was carved by those group of carvers. And it was there too that the tukutuku was for the first time open for women to participate in. Prior to that, women weren't allowed to have anything to do with tukutuku or anything to do with the building of a meeting house. So that, and the reason they built that wharenui was so that when tourists come to Waitangi, to the Bay of Islands, they can be shown what a meeting house used to look like. And Hone Taiapa, of course, came with their group. Both Hone and Pina came under the tutelage of Eramiha Kapua. And of course, while here, and all of those carvings were done out at Motota, carried out at Motota. While there, of course, both Hone Taiapa, Hone Taiapa married Mere Keretene Sherrington from Wyoming, and Hori Waititi married Auntie Mabel Sherrington from Motota. So that, yeah. So I think it was that connection that Apareama Ngaka had with Tauhenare that brought them to that, to Motota.
So when you went to Rotorua, were there women being taught there?
No. That was them. No, they weren't. Even though I had known that tukutuku was open for women to be involved in, the head weaver then refused to have anything to do with tukutuku because of the way she was raised, and that was Emily Schuster. Yeah. And she refused to come anywhere. So all of that mahi was done by us, the tukutuku work and all of that. And then, all the mātauranga behind it and all of that sort of stuff too was taught to us at that period.
So one of the questions that's come through is, what is the role of women in whakairo now, and do you have a perspective on that? I know that there are lots of challenges for this take, but do you have a position personally about the role of women? Have you taught women to carve, and what do you think the role of women is in whakairo?
I have taught women in sort of in the tertiary style of mātauranga schools. Like when I first come home, I was called over to Aotearoa by Hori Waititi and Sir James Henare, and it was then that I found out why I was sent away. But so I have taught women in the under the kaupapa of the tertiary institutions, only because that's part of the curriculum that we're not to discriminate against women.
Sure.
Yeah? And for that purpose, because it came under that line, I taught women, and I sort of put that under the category of art rather than whakairo, tapito. But in a place like this, if we're working on the meeting house, then I'll go back to our kaupapa, Māori kaupapa, in regards to I'm wondering how to respond, because it's, yeah. I think the short answer is yes, that I have, but I also follow strictly to the laws of our ancestors.
How you were taught.
How we were taught, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, the depth of that, I think, will be revealed one day in Wānanga form once we get back to that.
That day's fast approaching.
It is fast approaching, I can feel it.
One of the other things I'm thinking as you're talking is there each marae and each hapu and each distinct iwi have their what they believe is their beliefs about proper ways to proceed. From your experience, and of course you were the main carver at Kakaporoini and Whangare Te Renga Parao. What were the biggest challenges for you as a carver in carving a meeting house, a modern meeting house in these days?
The biggest challenge, not only for me, but for the committee itself, was bringing our people together to kōrero, especially the men of our, what I used to refer to as our villages, our pau, our tatane whakakai. And they tried and tried. They put tono after tono out for people from different hapu around here to come in. And in the end, the committee members who were connected a lot of hapu around the area, and even over to Tahawira, that side of the, turned to the people that they knew to see if it was okay to put their tupuna in that whare. And so that was the biggest challenge, was bringing our people together. But it's also understandable in the day that we're living in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll wait for the question to come up.
Well, you know, I was thinking, because as a carver myself as well, you and I are very familiar with people saying, you know, what is the Ngā Puhi style, or what is the Ngāti Whātua style, or what is the Te Parody style? What, from your perspective, is this idea of style? Where does that come from?
I've always considered the styles that we have within our areas coming from the Taonga that passed them on, rather than connecting them to any of the iwi that were around. So the Taonga was the one that carried that message from that world to this world, and then fed it back to the people in the form that he'd think they'd understand.
Is that what you're teaching here at Hihio?
Yeah, only when we're building meeting houses. Waka. Yeah.
Well, what's the difference between a waka and a meeting house from your perspective?
It's the only one that we can have the opportunity. It's those two aspects. You know, waka, for start, they carry the mana and the history of our people. After all, you know, we're a Pacific people. And the whare was the other one. Because both of them took our mātauranga back into the universe. Mai te pōni te pōro, mai te nawa. It took our mātauranga right back into that realm.
Yeah.
So every part of a meeting house, it's like a microcosm of the universe. And it's because of that knowledge that we are trying to adhere to the old ways of that were passed down by our tahunga to us. And one of those is the role of men and ko te tāne, te waihi. And so when we start building a meeting house, you know as well as I do that we enter into the realm of Mare Kura. And we're under the protection of Mare Kura, which basically means we have entered the womb of the wahine. As it's there that birth happens. Creation happens. Yeah. And we can't have we can't enter into that men's world to do that. We have to enter into that world. So I won't go any further with that.
We're just getting some questions in. Thank you for the questions that are coming in. But at Te Warihi, here's a question from Kori Atama. What are some key points for me to consider when building a whare whakairo where I am in Whangaroa? We have a tutor in training at Te Puhi at present. The moe is to have all 17 marae in Whangaroa carved. Have you got some advice to Kori and to the people of that area? Where to start, how to begin to consider carved meeting houses?
A very good question. I think that's I think firstly, I think the thing to do is come back, especially if you're looking at carving that many meeting houses, is to come and sit down in wānanga. To sit in wānanga. I don't think that this is the format to go into that in detail, but come and sit in wānanga with us. You know, when I was sent to Rotorua, I was sent there to retrieve the skills of whakairo only. Then when our time finished there with Tony Taipa, he said to all of us that his time with us is ended. You now have to go home to your people to learn the background of whakairo.
Whakaaro rangatira tera.
And so there's about 2 of us that did that. The other one was Kapuarini from Roatoki, who went back to his, I don't know if he went back to his elders or not, but I know he's still there carving. And myself, who came home, of course, I didn't know this until I arrived home, and then I got the message from Otiria, from Ngāti Hine, to head over to Otiria, and asked Dad about that. And he said, you go, because it was those people, those elders of Ngāpuri that sent you. So in answer to that, there's two answers to that question. One is the skill of whakairo. That's fine. You can go ahead and carve a meeting house, but then are you carving just a shell? Okay? With beautiful designs around the place. And hence the reason I say the first step then is to come in wānanga with Bernard.
Te whakairo I te whare te tuatahi, e rangi ko te tuarua ko te whakairo I te ngākau o tēnā o ngā tangata o te hapo.
Ko te whakapo o tēnā o ngā hurirano ki te ngota ai.
Apai. Yeah, I'm going to keep asking these questions so that the people listening can make the most of this opportunity to speak with you. So there's a question from Mark Horsfield, and it's an interesting question. Is it okay to carve a realistic likeness of your own tupuna, including moko and other distinctive facial features? I suppose that's about thinking about what to carve and how to represent it, particularly if you're looking to perhaps literally represent someone who's able to be distinguished. What's your perspective about that?
I think today I always had two perspectives. One is coming from the system that we're living under and contemporary arts and all of that sort of stuff. And the other one, of course, is our ancestral knowledge handed down. Yeah. And from that end, I keep well away from carving the image of the tangata. And it's the reason why we don't blow chips even. The tangata is a creation of the atua, and we were forbidden to carve the exact copy of man, otherwise we'll be sick. And even worse, if we blew the chip off, also we'd be seen as breathing life into a form that we had no right breathe life into.
Right. I guess as a carver, that's one of the things I'm always asked is, why don't you blow your chips? So that's a great question, great answer. So what about when you're thinking about designing your works and the stories behind it, depicting things literally in your carving? What do you think about that? How people can interpret your work after it's presented? Do you expect people to read your work to say, oh, there's a picture of so-and-so tupuna because depicted with an axe or with a gun or with a pen? Do you expect that people will make that kind of connection?
Not today, not these days. In the past, our people knew how to read it like they read a book.
Yeah.
They know the tamo. They were able to read it like a book because every line, even a flat line, had a whakapapa to it. So I say today it's difficult unless we go back in this. I think this is why it's important for us to start looking into the mātauranga that's embedded in whakairo.
Yeah.
And share that with our rangatahi. Yeah.
Everything has a significance, and you have to be, I guess what you're saying is you have to be careful that people might read something into your work that you hadn't intended. And wānanga is, I guess, is what you're saying.
Wānanga is one way of solving that problem, I guess, that issue.
He pātai tēnei no roto matawaia. E te whaia e moe, kia piki te aura ki roto ki a koe. He pātai tēnei, pātai pai e te whaia e moe. What was the impact of Christianity? I've heard lots of people talk about the impact of Christianity, but it would be good to have your perspective about the impact of Christianity, particularly in light of what you've been talking about, the blowing of the chips, the likeness of the tupuna, te ao kohatu, te kore, te pō. What was the impact, do you think, of Christianity?
I think it was huge. The impact that, to the point, in 1830, like I was talking to you earlier, well, a couple of weeks back, that, in 1830, 1835, during the period of the Minanga and Whakaputua, when carved meeting houses were abolished, and at the same period, Christianity was accepted by our people at that point. In hindsight, I think, and I don't know whether I'm talking for Māori or for Pākehā, in hindsight's a wonderful tool to use at arriving at another concept there. And one of those is I felt that if they had spoken to our taonga back then, we would have been living in a different world today. Because we could have blended our beliefs. And they would have noticed pretty much straight away that there weren't that much difference between the two.
Can that still happen, do you think?
I think we're arriving at that now. We're at that time now that we're arriving at understanding. For example, the term whakapakoko came from false idols. The concept of false idols that Christianity brought. And so that applied to a lot of our carved tekotekoe and meeting houses, where they took us around in Rotorua and they chopped off the ude of those tekoteko because of that that lack of understanding of where our people were coming from in regards to creation. And yet, if we dissect that term, false idols, you know yourself that, you know, the biblical term where they say that they carved a golden calf.
Moses, yeah.
And started to worship. Unfortunately, Christianity's early perspective of that was the calf, because it was carved. Right. They should have focused on the gold, which is the real problem that's facing the planet today. And so, yeah, I do have a perspective, and it did affect our culture immensely. But like you say, we're pretty close to the time, and now we have our people who understand what Christ truly taught, to be able to look back and have our rangatira like Māori Marsden, Tāhimi Henare, Rima Edwards, wera rangatira katoa I kawea tunu hoki te mātou rangatuku I tātou ni mātou tūpuna. And it's those people who come down from those, all of us now carry bits and pieces of the answer to bring it together and come up with an answer.
Haramai. You know, we've got lots of questions, so we're going from this one to that one, but it's all good. It's all good. Haramai tētahi āhua. Now, there's a question. Can you speak about the role of pātaka and carved pātaka in Te Taitokerau? In particular, Waka and Whare Whakairo, Whare Hui, carving has been revived to some degree, but not much about pātaka. Have you got some thoughts about that?
I saw, yes, I did actually. I saw a writing left by that fellow Colonel, whatever the anyway, in this book, he wrote about his journey up to Waikari. And there he saw a meeting house, but he reckoned that the best, the most intricate carving in the village was the pātaka. So, you know, we know what that stands for, the pātaka. It stands really for the wealth of our community. The wealth of the sea, the wealth of the ngahere, the wealth of the land is what is symbolized in the pātaka. More so than any other whakairo. So that's part of the living culture, the living community. Whereas the whare nui, including the waka, takes us back in time to that mātauranga tuku iho.
So one of the other questions, and it sounds like this may seem like we're going in another direction, but we've had a couple of questions about unaunahi as a pattern distinct for ngā puhi nui tonu in Te Taitokerau. Have you got some thoughts about unaunahi? The design, the pattern, some of the kōrero behind it, where, you know, kau e ruku hōhuru, e rangi he whakaro au, e pāna ki tēnei tauira, te unaunahi.
Ko te unaunahi whakapiripiri ki te kanui a Māui. So for us in the north here, Māui is a key role, key figure in regards to the mātauranga tukuiho that was handed down from Taonga to Māui to Huatatane tupuna. And well, just that recital alone, I think, is gives you insight in regards to the unaunahi. There's a wānanga in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll touch it because I've already touched on it in other places. So I'll just touch on that unawi, just that part of the unawi, where it, when you look into the concept of the fish scales that cling to the great fish of Maui, then you come to understand that what they're talking about, the scales itself, what they're talking about is the protection of the kōrero papa, as part of that kōrero papa tuanu that protects the whenua. And it's a reflection of our understanding of our mātauranga in regards to evolution. There was in the minds of our ancestors, there was that when you come to a wānanga, but in the minds of our people, evolution started from the realm of the universe. But here on Papatuanuku, evolution starts with te kikukiko Papatuanuku, the flesh of Papatuanuku, ngā ota Papatuanuku, ngā ota, tuatoru, ko ngā kararehe, wērana katoa, ko te tangata. So how many was that? 4. So there's a 5th one, ko te wairua, te ahotapu, that connects all of creation with te rungaro. So that's a light look at the at the una.
I guess
and it comes in different, whatever number it comes in, the forms of una, whatever number, the philosophy is still in line with the whakapopo of our tupuna there,
Yeah. I suppose it also links to what you're saying about the pātaka, because the fish scales, if you go to someone's house and there's fish scales at their front doorstep, you know, e tangata hi ika tēnā. So that's an indication of the wealth of that particular village, their ability to provide fish, but also to harvest sustainably fish for the benefit of their village, but also for the benefit of their manuhita.
And to you touched just by mentioning the fact that you go to a place and you see unahi or fish scales there. Yeah. It shows that person is. What you also touched on is the laws that our people followed of the sea. That's right. Yeah? Like we were forbidden from scaling fish where we caught it from. Yeah. Yeah? We were forbidden. We had to take it inland scale. Yeah. We were forbidden from leaving empty kinder shells below high water mark. Yeah. We always took it above high water mark. Eh? Yeah. So it's in that the comment that you made is in that light that our people, although tika ana tēnā kōrero, tēnā whakaaro, he tangata kaha ki te hihika, tangata ahu whenua rai, engari kia mōhiro rātou ki te tikanga, te pāne, te mona, te ngai, I wera me whaka.
So we've got another a question from Mark Horsfield, but what do you consider is the best type of timber for whakairo?
Tōtara.
Koinango.
Koina, that's it. Tōtara.
There's another part to Mark's question, which is it readily available now? And what other choices might you be forced to make?
Gee, no, I think you would have been part of this meeting where they're talking about commercializing the tōtara. Yeah, unfortunately, the tōtara that sort of was around when I was growing up, we could still get those ones where the heart was, over a meter in width, just the heart of it, and even over 2 meters in some places. But we carved a lot of timber like that.
So just explain that, the heart of the tree. What does that mean for you as a carver?
It means that we've got a timber that's going to have sort of a longevity connected to it. Tōtara was chosen as the favorite wood because the sap in its initial stages, unless left outside, was poisonous to borer. Tōtara was also a wood that split easier than other. You were able to slab it simply by using wedges to split and create the slabs.
Because it's straight.
Because it's straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about the one that grow in the forest.
Yeah.
There's two different. Actually, there's seven species of tōtara. But the ones we talk about is the one that grow out in the open and it just branches out.
Yeah.
That's the type of tōtara we're into now. That
we're forced to that.
We're forced to using that stuff.
Yeah.
If the person feels like giving it to us or even purchasing it, you know, it can be quite a struggle. Require that. So it's just those natural values that tree hold is why the tōtara is number one to no other tree in the forest.
How about the kauri? I can hear my relations from Warawara and from Omahuta and even over in Waipoua. What about the kauri? What's the difference between the kauri and the tōtara?
The kauri is still prolific over that side of the motu because they used up all the tōtara. But no, the tōtara, the kauri had its place as well, and it's important. It's got its own whakapapa too, of course, as you're well aware. Well, every tree has its own whakapapa for that matter, and you know the reason why we cite Whare wasn't to walk across the marae, it was to clear the way to allow us not to disturb what's under the ground and what's growing under the tamore kirunga ki rawa hoki. The Whare was to excuse us for clearing that away in order to take a tree.
I suppose that's what you're saying before about learning to carve. Using a chisel is one thing, but these aspects have to be taught as well. In one.
So go hand in hand, because what you're carving is about the stuff that we're talking about now.
Yeah. And what about I come from Dargwell, and of course swamp kauri is often spoken about. What's your perspective about swamp kauri?
Swamp kauri is good for in the whare, inside a whare.
Yeah.
No good for outside.
Yeah.
You know that when they dig it up out of the ground or out of the swamp where it comes from, that raka want to go back to nature as fast as it wants, as fast as it can. And we've seen that. We've tested it. Where when we carved Te Wairoa over in Dargaville, for example, we stood and that was all using. Swamp kauri. We put the offcuts outside, just stood them up against the wall outside. By the end of autumn, those perfectly good boards we put outside had turned to waro. Te hahua te waro.
Yeah.
And so then that's what I say in regards to swamp kauri is that for inside, play, because the environment can't get at it. And if the environment is temperature control, better still. But for outside work or even load-bearing, as a load-bearing material, it's not good.
Yeah. What about other native timbers? Any other native timbers good for any other purposes?
All of the hardwoods, kauri, pūriri, tānekaha, maide,
Manuka,
vera makatoa. All of them have a purpose, and especially in regards to all our hardwood, in the old days, in regards to they relied on those for their tools. For gardening, for hunting, Yeah, they relied heavily on those other timber. So every timber was valuable. The only ota I knew was undergrowth vegetation before it took on another meaning.
Just a couple of other questions. We're coming to the end of the questions that are coming through, and we'll look to bring our time to a close in the next 10 or so minutes. But is there any other aspects of being a carver and carving from your perspective that you think it's good for people to hear and to appreciate in our modern times?
I think the challenge for you and I is how do we share this information with the thousands of artists that are coming out of institutions? Okay? They get introduced to Māori art through that format, and the hunger that I see in them is the hunger to return for what we're talking about now, the roots that was handed down to us, the pūtake o tātou ingoa. Okay. And why it's a challenge for us, because it's also the answer to the loss of identity that we see out there. Okay. This is one of the rongoa to bring our people back in from the wilderness.
I guess you've answered one of the last questions that I've left here, which is people's interest in wānanga. To we've only been able to scrape the surface of our kōrero today, and there is interest. How do you see the establishment of wānanga to begin to address these things? How can we assist people to help them to participate in wānanga, such as the things that you've alluded to today? Are there things that you're doing here at Hihiaua? I guess there's a question for us as Toi Nga puhi, to look at how we establish these opportunities for people. But as in closing comments, some perspectives you might have about the future of wānanga and how you might invite people?
I think the future of wānanga is like I said earlier, is the answer. It's the answer to what our people are looking for. Well, I think first up, our mana motuhake over our mātauranga pukuheo needs to be established. The way we teach our mātauranga is not acknowledged by the system. Yeah? And yet we still carry that mātauranga. So, and I think that's part of the challenge that we have, is in creating that in a way that it maintains its mana motuhake.
No.
And I think for that to work, somehow we have to regain also our mana motuhake over our resources as well. In order for us to achieve what we want to achieve, we've got to start looking at Article 2 of Te Tiriti. We've got to.
Apai. No reira, e te warihi ka nui ngā mihi ki a koe. e wātea nei e koe, me tō ngā kau, ki tēnei kaupapa o Toi Nga puhi. E wātea nei tēnei whare tino ātāhua hihi aua. A koe, a kaurua tahi ko tō hoa wahine, tō hoa rangatira, Janet. Ko rahi mātou o Toi Nga puhi, ko rahi ngā kai whakarongo, ngā kai mā takitaki. I wau ake nei whakaro, ngā whakaro o Ouringa, me o Kamo, me ngā whakaakoranga o ngā whainga, o ake whainga i te tō ake kāinga, me rātou o roto te aroa, kuruma, a hone taiapa mā tai atu ki te tairawhiti. No reira tēnā koe. Tēnā koe, a tōna wā ka tūtū he wānanga. I think also, if I can just conclude now, we have a comment from Patina Stone, to help to share information for those of today who hunger for this opportunity and information. And I suppose the hunger is the starting point, but what I've taken from your talk today is that we have to be conscious of the depth and the breadth of these things that have been taught in special ways, and the responsibility for people like yourself to honor those people who taught you, and to ensure that the integrity of that teaching is maintained, and the results of the teaching, the products of your effort and your vision and creation does honor to those generations and inspires those generations to come. Anō reira, e ngā kai mā takitaki, tēnā hoki koutou, tōna wā ka hui anō i roto i tēnei, tō tātou nei kaupapa, o roto pukamata, o roto YouTube ana hoki. Whai mai te wiki kei te haere mai, tērā wiki, ko Phil Wihongi, te tahi kai kōrero, kei te haere mai, e rangi tēnei rā ka mihi atu ki tō tātou nei kai kōrero o te rangi nei, Toi Nga Whakairo, Te Warihi, he taraka. Mai nano tēnā koutou, ki au koutou nei kāinga puta noa, kia noho ora i roto i te whakaro o tēnei rangi, e te heke te ua ki wahora, e pai ana, a mutu mai te ua, ka mōhi o te tangata i te mahana o te whitinga o te rā. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, kia ora hui hui mano la tātou katoa. Tihei uri, tihei nakona. Ka tau hā, ka whakatau ko te rangi e tūne. Ka tau hā, ka whakatau ko te raro papa i raro nei. Ka tau hā, ka whakatau ko te mā tuku mai i raro tōna. Ko ia ruku hia manawa pauroto. Ko ia ruku hia manawa paua. Whakatina kia tina te more i o waiki e pupu ana hoki e o wawana hoki. Tārewa tū ki te rangi au i kāke, eke panuku, eke tangaroa, eke tāne mahuta. Tūturu whakamaua mai kia tina. Haumie, huie, tai ki e. Tēnā koutou katoa.